I want to take time to say thank you so much for all you have done in the past 2 years and being a contributing factor to my success inside and outside the classroom. Thank you for all you have done, and I hope to be the kind of teacher to my future students as you have been to me. I learned so much from you on how to unconditionally love and support and impact students in a positive way. Thank you for all you do.
Up next is Emily Taylor. Emily is out of town. Mrs. Richards will read for her.
I feel nervous too, you guys, just so you know. Plus, this is a cold read. I've never read it before, so here we go. This is for Mrs. Working. There are many teachers in this school corporation that deserve recognition, but one in particular has made a huge impact in my life. From teaching everything there is to know 10 years ago in 2nd grade to being a great family friend and finally my mentor for the last 2 years, teaching the ins and outs of 3rd grade math. As many people know, I want to go to school to become an elementary teacher. I've always known that I wanted to do that, but through my relationship with Mrs. Working, I have began to adore teaching. She makes everything so much fun for students and understands the challenges each one faces. She comes to school with a smile on her face no matter what may have happened. She has pushed me out of my comfort zones, from making bulletin boards, teaching in front of the class, grading papers, and yelling at the students. Her classroom is always such a happy, clean, and creative environment. Ever since I was sitting in her classroom in 2nd grade, I knew I wanted to be just like Mrs. Working. I hope to be half the teacher she is.
Next, Samantha Tan.
Dear Star Trek nerd, the last 2 years with you, I have found myself so confused in your classroom that I forgot my own name sometimes, to the point that I would have mental breakdowns really every day. I just hid them really well. But I have to thank you for not only pushing me through the last 2 years, but besides the breakdowns, making me laugh every day. Other than the 2 days you were concussed and gone. You have been You have been an excellent teacher, and I know that we, the calculus kids, give you all kinds of crap for it. But really, you've done a great job, other than the fact that you've been silently trying to kill me with your room sense. I'm going to go ahead and blame that on the reason that I only took in about half the information that you tried to teach me the past year. It's a legitimate reason, see? I had trouble breathing, and not enough oxygen was getting to my brain, causing me not to be able to learn as much. Boom. So that's why I was so stupid the past year. Sorry about that. But you shouldn't have tried to kill me. So I guess we're even. We're even because the disappointment that you'll feel when seeing my AP exam. Sorry, but really, you tried your best with me. Math just isn't my forte. Anywho, even though I'm not going to remember a lot of the calculus part of your classroom, I'll forever be with you with the memories in your classroom, like the time that Emma fell on her water bottle and it busted all, or the time you laid down, face down on the ground and swore that you were quitting and giving up. It's moments like these that I will forever remember, not the fact that if you undo a function that uses chain rule to find the derivative, and that the chain rule gives us the product of two factors, and if it has an inside and outside derivative, it has an antiderivative. See, I took something in this year, but thank you, Mr. A, for being an amazing teacher the past 2 years. I know that that your remaining years at Mississinewa, you will thrive even more as a teacher. Best of luck.
Up next, Madison Stanley.
Over the course of my high school career, many teachers have made a tremendous impact on me that I'll never forget. But if I had to pick one that has changed my life for the better, the first person that comes to mind is Mr. Troy Simpson. Whenever I've needed someone to talk to, he has never hesitated in giving up his free time to help, no matter whether the conversation was important or absolute nonsense. We've had conversations to where he was 100% convinced I was on steroids when I hit 3 home runs during softball season, to conversations where I've cried about my boy problems and he's threatened to hurt them every time. No matter the cause, he has always been there and has never complained once. He has also been there to celebrate some of my greatest accomplishments throughout high school. I remember sitting through the 2-hour-long awards ceremony at Decca State half asleep when they called my name for a competency award. Thinking they must have made a mistake, I looked over to see Mr. Simpson more excited about the award than myself, and him hurrying me to the stage to receive my award. Although I didn't get in the top 3 or even first place, Mr. Simpson had made me feel like I had just won a national title in food service and restaurant management. He's always been excited about the success of his students, and he really opens your eyes to see that you can be anything you want and successful in life. I'll never forget the countless arguments over which chicken wing sauce is the best, which cereal is the best, and me trying every day to get out of the late lunch club where he made me wait until everyone else went to lunch and then I could go. I will also never forget his favorite quote, which was, "You're an idiot." I never thought as a sophomore meeting him for the first time that we would be as close as we are now. But I am grateful to have a staff member at MHS who makes me feel like I am cared about, and that's why I appreciate everything Mr. Simpson has done for me.
Up next, Heisman Skeens.
All right, he's up there, but it's going to be a second one in a row for Mr. Simpson. There we go. I honestly didn't want to do this, but then I realized I needed to make sure that I could publicly acknowledge the fact that you are essentially what I will become when I'm as old as you. It's true, which is older than dirt. You're a pretty cool dude, and you've shown me that even when I'm old, I can still make fun of people and make jokes at others' expense. Hashtag Jewel Twins. But seriously, I appreciate how we can have a conversation about anything, mainly things that don't necessarily have anything to do with school, and that we can agree on most things minus politics. But even when we don't agree, we can still respect each other and not get offended because neither of us have actual emotions. Thanks for showing me that feelings are overrated and that I can actually not do anything that I want in life, and for keeping me in check with my life goals or lack thereof.
I don't know if I should laugh or be worried. Up next, Brielle Remingay.
Oh, Lord. You have been more than just a teacher to me these past 2 school years. I came into your class as a junior, eager to take your class, and it wasn't until halfway through the year I realized how hard that class actually was. I went through a tough time my junior year, and you were there to help me. You were there to help me out, and you were very patient with me when I was an awful student. Going into this year, I was eager to take your class, but not because of the subject, but because you had become my favorite teacher. I somehow conned you into letting me come in during my study hall and sit in your room. I would sit there and complain about everything under the sun, and you would listen and give me advice, even if it wasn't exactly what I wanted but needed to hear. I started to slip back into my old ways of being a bad student and not doing my work, but you were generous enough to not let me fall flat on my butt. When I had questions, you were willing to sit there and talk it out with me until I could finally understand what was happening. You were willing to stay after, come in early, and deal with our millions of texts at midnight trying to figure out where we went wrong. Probably the best part of taking your class, though, was the cake and cookies you would bring to us. AP Calculus may have been an awful class, but your baking was far from being awful. Thank you for being an amazing teacher, counselor, and baker. I appreciate everything you have done for me these past 2 years. Surprisingly enough, I think I'll actually miss you, Mr. A. Don't forget me.
Up next, Christopher Pavey.
Okay, I'll keep this pretty short. Mine's to Speakman. I just wanted to say thank you. Though I know that I don't necessarily show it, I truly am grateful for everything you have done and taught me over these last several years. I know that I won't go down in history as the funniest, the hardest working, or most diligent student you've ever had. Instead, I will just go down as another one of the many students who you've helped out of nothing but the kindness of your heart. Not only have you helped me climb the troughs of my life, but you've also given me a model to which I aspire to become. On behalf of myself and all of the other students who I've seen your positivity reflected, I thank you from the absolute depths of my heart. I was really hoping to make you cry.
Next, Elisabeth Lucas.
Okay, mine's also to Mrs. Speakman. I would like to honor and thank you for not only being the best teacher I have ever had in my entire 14 years of schooling, but for also going beyond the duties of being a teacher for me and all of your other students. Last year, when I first moved here, I didn't even have you as a teacher, yet you still sought me out to welcome me and talk to me, which as a new kid made my day more than you could ever probably know. This year especially, I experienced how you go above and beyond being a good teacher. You care for your students beyond just imparting knowledge. You made English my favorite subject, which it wasn't previously before your class. I have immensely improved my writing, which is all because of you. You have made me feel safe, which is very nice. You made me feel like no matter what happened at school, I always had one person who cared about me and was there for me. I knew I could always talk to you. Every time I had a bad day this year, I could go into your class unannounced and just sit in there. And no matter what you were in the middle of, you would just let me be in there, and as soon as you were finished teaching, you would always come check on me and do anything in your power to help. You always helped me with many other things, such as making posters for student section cheers, giving me recommendations for a job and many scholarships, editing my 20-page deck of paper, helping me order stuff on Amazon, and constantly letting me keep food in your fridge. So many other things that you took time out of your day to do for me. I'm really grateful for all that you have done for me. You have impacted my life and changed my initial outlook on Mississinewa High School for the better, because moving to a new school as a junior was difficult, and I did not like it here at all in the beginning. But because of you, I can now look at both of my high schools that I attended and feel like they were both places I used to call home.
Up next, Robert Jones.
I'm going to keep this really short. I would like to nominate Mr. Holloway for all he's done for our community and for everything he's done for us here at TribeTV, and I would like to thank you.
In the camera.
Up next, Caitlin Harris.
Mrs. Osborne, when I came to Mississinewa, I was a fish out of water, and I didn't know anyone. In elementary school, math was my favorite subject, so by personal bias, your class intrigued me and drew me in the most. Still, I felt out of place. I soon began to feel more welcome when I met you, my 6th grade math teacher. I always found myself excited when I came to your class because I liked it. Weird, right? What kids like math? I never knew when you were going to show us a YouTube video, share a random student quote, tell us one of your college stories, or tell us a story about your children. My favorite story was about you punching your college roommate because she was talking ill of your mom. Yes, it was just a story, but it also taught me to defend the ones I care for, maybe just not always physically. I remember you telling us about your daughter who received a $40,000, give or take, scholarship to Butler, and I always admired her for that, even if I didn't know her name. That taught me that I can achieve what hasn't been achieved by many in my family, going to college. You wrote in my yearbook that year that you could see me being our grade's valedictorian. Even if it wasn't your intention, you showed me a side of myself that needed to be proved. And as a senior in high school, I can confirm that I am in fact not the valedictorian. 11 people would have to drop out for that to be true. But I'm still putting forth the effort you foresaw. To this day, you continue to influence me. I've struck between two career options, registered nursing and anesthesiology. I initially decided that I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I was prepared for the work. I had my mind settled. The choice was decided. And then you came along and persuaded me to look a different route, one that was cheaper, less time-consuming, and was a mix of both. I'm going to become a nurse anesthesiologist. As I'm writing this, I don't know if you ever knew how deeply you impacted my life. Whether you were just sharing information or actually believed in me, I hope it's the latter. You will forever be the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Please continue to be wonderful.
Up next, Taylor Fields.
Alrighty, so after a lot of consideration, I've decided not to read my letter, but thank you for all you do, Mrs. Arbogast, for not only me, but for everyone in this school.
Next, I'd like to bring down Jacob Emer.
Mine is for Mr. Taylor. I want to start by just thanking you for all you have done for me, both in the classroom and on the track. I had you in 7th grade social studies and health, and that was where our companionship began. You were not only a teacher, but more importantly, a person I could go to for help on something I was struggling with or something for school. You made social studies and health class actually fun and worth going to. I remember I was always excited to come to your class, and you introduced me into the movie I will never forget, Remember the Titans. This movie showed me leadership, and that was your goal. The first coach I felt like I could naturally talk to was you. You always told me, you have long legs and you should try the 400. And so I did. You were the reason I desired to run the 400, which if I had not ran that, I would not have been switched to the 800. Because of this, I'm currently one of the 4 people holding the 3,200 meter relay record for the school. Every time I turn in a race, I always think of what you told me. Pump your arms if your legs are not working any longer. It'll help you, I promise. Those words have not left my head since 8th grade. Your words alone have encouraged me all the way through life, not just on the track, but in school. You have always been a close peer to me, and I have always felt that I can approach you on any circumstance. You have shown me how strong of a runner and student I'm capable of being, and have constantly told me that you are here for me in a time of need. For that, I cannot thank you enough.
Nathan Earl is next.
So at the beginning of my sophomore year, I made the judgment call that getting up at 4:30 a.m. was a good idea and would make me more productive throughout the day. In all reality, by second period every day, I was asleep in class. And my second period class was AP United States History. I didn't know much about my new United States history teacher other than he was strict and bald. Both of these turned out to be true. I may have not given the best first impression of Mr. Williamson, but my first impressions of his teaching were far from poor. When I wasn't asleep, I was engaged and interested in the material he presented. I've always had an interest in U.S. history and government, but Mr. Williamson humbled me in my knowledge of the subject. Thanks to Mr. Williamson, my understanding of history and government of our I didn't type that. My knowledge has increased exponentially. After sophomore year, I was eager to sign up for We the People and AP Gov for the following year. His constant motivation and unwavering belief in us led us to a regional championship and a state finals berth in We the People. He, along with the We the People program, have not only brightened my high school experience, but inspired my career path. This coming fall, I will be attending Ball State University to major in secondary education with a concentration in social studies. And for that, Mr. Williamson is to thank. Mr. Williamson, I know I have been frustratingly lazy and unmotivated at times, but I thank you for sticking with me and playing a part in helping me become the man I am today.
Up next, Madison Dotterwick.
Okay, I would like to honor Mr. Troy Simpson. I have made lifelong bonds with multiple teachers within my 4 years of high school. However, personally, Mr. Troy Simpson and I have built a bond far beyond any of the others. He has done so much for me within the past 2 years I've had him as a teacher and 1 year as a golf coach. He has taught me things I can take on with me for the rest of my life, academically and emotionally. I always know if I am genuinely having issues, I can count on him to be there with open ears and give me honest feedback, even if I don't want to hear the truth. He is one of the few teachers who hasn't went off his very first impression of me and stuck to it, because as we go through high school, we change drastically. Troy understands that I may come off as someone I am not and has opened me up to my true self and helped me become capable of showing that to others. I've never been able to have someone get down to the core of myself and help me understand who I am independently, apart from who I am as friends or just in a class in general. Troy has also treated me as his own. He has invited me to attend church with him and his family because he knows that I've wanted to do so. I just never wanted to go into a church blindly without knowing anyone. He has also taken many hours of his life having long sentimental talks with me and just being 100% honest and real about what decisions I make in life, which aren't always the best. Overall, I am incredibly thankful for all the lessons Troy has taught me in the 2 short years he has known me. He has definitely helped shape me into the woman I am today and impacted my life tremendously. And I know that if it came down to it, he would always be a text or call away if I ever needed his help or opinion later on in life. I wouldn't have rather argued and yelled in the classroom, calling each other idiots with any other teacher about the most irrelevant things possible, to where students thought that we were genuinely mad at each other, but that's just our personalities. Troy, thank you for the countless hours you put in to help me become the person I am today. I wouldn't be the same person without you.
Up next, Amaya David.
So I'm honoring Mrs. Lobster today. She's back there. I said, 1 year with you was not enough. You have a very uplifting spirit, a joyful presence, and are full of humor. There was never downtime in your class because we were always busy working, joking, and laughing. Never in my life did I think AP Bio would be the highlight of my day and the thing I most look forward to. I admired you tremendously and still do because you always put your students first and did your best to understand them and their situation. You took care of them however you could just to take some weight off their shoulders. You were there for me at a critical point in my junior year, and I will be forever grateful for that and you. You may not know this, but my career choice had a lot to do with you. Despite your job title being a teacher, you were also like a counselor and a therapist. I aspire to be a child psychiatrist. Your helpfulness and willingness to give people better lives, whether it be short-term or long-term, guided me towards that occupation. I saw something in you that I respected and chose to build it up within myself. Thank you so much for the time we did get together, and thank you so much for absolutely everything.
Up next, Kaylin Bolser.
Okay, we might need to move this
Yes,
up.
feel free.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. All right. Moving to a new school isn't always an easy thing to do, especially going into your senior year, and I'm grateful that I was blessed enough to have some people in my life that made not only my transition to the new environment easier, but also made my year extremely special. Mrs. Speakman was definitely one of those people. Not only is she a wonderful teacher, but she's easy to talk to and was immediately one of my favorite people once I got to know her. She's always taking an extra step to make sure the people around her are happy and that her students have everything they need to succeed. Her upbeat and bubbly personality makes classes enjoyable and gives a little extra entertainment into every conversation. Mrs. Speakman is someone that I look up to. I want to be a teacher when I'm older, and I never want to lose my passion. Mrs. Speakman never lost her spunk or passion throughout the school year, not even on one day. She literally gets a workout sometimes during lessons and loves teaching simply because she's so, oh wait, hang on, I messed up. Oh, she literally gets a workout in sometimes during lessons that she loves teaching just simply because she's so animated and excited about what she's trying to say. That's part of what makes her so great and the reason that I looked forward to her class every day, and that's why I love her so much in general. That's it.
Up next, Tyler Bartel.
Okay, so mine is also for Mrs. Speakman. I wasn't actually going to write this because I'm lazy, but you convinced me, just like you have to convince me to do any other assignment. All jokes aside, it would be impossible to put into words in this one paper how much you have helped me become the person that I am today. I remember my sophomore year. It was my first year having you as a teacher, and I loved it. I can't actually remember a single thing we did in class, but I do remember that I always looked forward to going there every day. 2 years later, and nothing has changed. I spend about 95% of the school day in your classroom, and you never make me leave unless I actually have to go to another class. You always listen to what I have to say and ask me how my day is going, and you always let me rant to you when I have something going on or I'm just having a bad day. Having you as a teacher has been the biggest influence in my decision to study English next year. We all know math and science have never really been my strong suits. Just ask Mr. Augustin. I'm usually always engaged in what we are talking about in your class, unless it's one of those days where I just sleep the whole time and you try messing with me and I accidentally punch you in the face. You're usually really energized and passionate about what we're doing in class, and it makes reading literature and writing essays not suck so bad. Despite the jokes that people make about your Land Rover and your husband being a doctor, you are one of the most selfless and caring people I have ever met. You are always willing to help anyone, and I've never seen you turn a person away when they needed something. You are so kind-hearted and generous. You genuinely care about all of your students and everything they have going on in their lives. I am definitely going to miss going to your class every day and all of the funny, sarcastic, and serious conversations we've had throughout my high school years. You will be one of the hardest, if not the hardest, person to leave from high school. You are incredibly appreciated. Thank you for everything.
We have some students who are not here, but the people that they want to honor are here. So Mr. Cocking and I are going to take turns reading their thoughts. So this is for Mr. Cunningham, and it is from Madeline Yanez. Throughout my 4 years at MHS, Mr. Cunningham has impacted me the most. My freshman year, I had him for ICP, and once he figured out that my face turned red every time someone called me out, he decided to always, and I mean always, call on me in class for everything. He's called on me so much that my face no longer turns red. It's my senior year, and he still calls on me to read all of the goals and objectives for the lesson we are going over. My face no longer turns red, so in a way, he has helped me to control my tendencies when I get embarrassed. Mr. Cunningham is always willing to help his students succeed no matter what, whether it's staying after school or being late to his basketball practice just to help someone. Mr. Cunningham also can get off topic in class, but then get right back on topic, which doesn't make class as boring as it is. It might, just reading what's here. It might seem as if you are annoying, which I do or don't. I'm getting worried. Let me try that sentence again. It might seem as if I think you are annoying, which I do or I don't like you, but in reality, you are a really good teacher, whether it's actually teaching or talking about things that have no relation to chemistry. I didn't like AP Chemistry my senior year because I love chemistry and I want to be, I didn't take AP Chemistry my senior year because I love chemistry and I want to be a chemistry major in college, even though I do like chemistry a lot. It is because I took it because Mr. Cunningham was teaching it. And if someone takes a class because of how good a teacher is, then that is saying something. So this is a thank you for being a good teacher, a friend, person in general, helping students no matter the situation. P.S. She knows that she is your favorite. It says that.
This is from Whitney Timmons for Mrs. Amy Richards. My appreciation goes to Mrs. Amy Richards. Without Mrs. Richards, I would not have made it through high school with any success. Without Mrs. Richards' help through these 4 years, I would have taken classes that I would have not needed to take. I appreciate Mrs. Richards for the time of the day she's taken to help me get on track for college. I appreciate Mrs. Richards for allowing me to talk to her when I wasn't able to figure things out on my own. Thank you, Mrs. Richards.
This is for Mr. Augustin from Peyton Fry. Even though I was terrified on my first day in Mr. Augustin's class, I instantly knew he wasn't like other teachers. Mr. Augustin tried his best to relate to his students and help them with their conflicts. While I was moving at the end of December, Mr. Augustin understood the struggle of moving and keeping my work up to date and was very lenient on turning the finished work in. On top of that, Mr. Augustin made honors pre-calculus enjoyable. His constant presentation of cakes that he's made, my classmates singing random songs, and just other random conversations is what made a difficult class one that I really wanted to go to. When I was stressed over the upcoming test, Mr. Augustin helped me to understand the material. His help to understand the material is what saved my grade in his class. Although there are many reasons to appreciate Mr. Augustin, I can't thank him enough for his understanding of difficult times.